Meanwhile, Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard. A servant girl came over and said to him, "You were one of those with Jesus, the Galilean." But Peter denied it in front of everyone. "I don't know what you are talking about," he said. Later, out by the gate, another servant girl noticed him and said to those standing around, "This man was with Jesus of Nazareth." Again, Peter denied it, this time with an oath. "I don't even know the man," he said. A little later, some of the other bystanders came over to Peter and said, "You must be one of them. We can tell by your Galilean accent." Peter swore, "A curse on me if I'm lying. I don't know the man." And immediately the rooster crowed. Suddenly, Jesus' words flashed through Peter's mind. "Before the rooster crows, you will deny 3 times that you even know me." And he went away weeping bitterly.
All of these pieces broken and scattered, in mercy gathered, mended and whole, empty-handed, but not forsaken. I've been set free. I've been set free. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Oh, I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Oh, I can see you now. Oh, I can see the love in your eyes, laying yourself down, raising up the broken to life. Take my failures, you take my weakness. You set your treasure in jars of clay. So take this heart, Lord, I'll be your vessel, the world to see your love from me. Oh, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Oh, I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Oh, I can see you now. Oh, I can see the love in your eyes, laying yourself down, raising up the broken to life.
So Jesus makes this declaration to the disciples. He tells them that there's one who will end up denying him 3 times. If you know anything about the story, you know it was one of his best friends. It was Peter. Peter was probably the most committed out of the 12. He loved Jesus. He loved the movement. He loved the idea of being called to be one of his disciples. And so when Jesus makes this declaration that you're going to deny me 3 times, it was almost too much for Peter to believe. And yet, sure enough, right after the arrest, before the accusations are even fresh, Peter did exactly what Jesus told him he would do. He denied him not once, but 3 times. What I find interesting about this story is we always give Peter kind of this idea that, well, he betrayed Jesus. He denied him 3 times. But you can't forget that Peter's the only one that went to the garden where the accusations were made. Peter's the only disciple that actually followed Jesus. The rest had ran for their lives. And so I think that what that teaches us is that Peter loved Jesus, but he wasn't perfect. He loved being a part of the movement, but he didn't always understand what his purpose was. The truth is, there are going to be moments in all of our lives where we end up doing things that we never thought in a million years we'd do. We find ourselves in circumstances that we think, well, that's going to happen to somebody else, but it won't happen to me. And if we're honest with ourselves, there are even moments when we end up denying Jesus. We don't mean to, but something happens and we don't have the strength or we don't have the courage to stand in the gap. And so today we're reminded that Jesus is not about behavior modification. He's about changing our heart. If you know the story, you know that eventually Jesus ended up reconciling with Peter. And not only did he put him back in a right relationship, he told him that he'd be the one on whose shoulders the church would be built. And Peter went on to change the world. And I believe the same is true for us. That even this Holy Week, in the midst of our own denial and our own fear and our own anxiety, that God's got a plan and a purpose, and that God can use us to change the world.